Hey friends, welcome back. This is Darius Pilgrim, and Darius Pilgrim reads The Smiling Ones on Space Station Mir, Part 3. I just looked up on the internet and I did make a mistake. The evil eye referenced in the last episode is actually like this, or the sign to ward off the evil eye. It's like a curse in lots of different cultures throughout time. It was thought to be cast by a witch. To have some kind of negative effect on you, perhaps cast a spell or put a hex or some kind of curse on you. And it was thought that this was the sign that would ward that off. So if I made a sign that was obscene in your language in the last episode there, I apologize. If you're from a country where that's not a good gesture to make, I'm an ignorant American. I didn't do it on purpose. I'm sorry. This is the sign of the warding off the evil eye. Also, I'm going to try to figure out a way to add something here so you can just skip to the story. I know if you're listening through and you want to hear the story nonstop continuous, it's probably really annoying to hear me talk in the beginning of each of these episodes. And I know I hate listening to a YouTube episode and having to go through a bunch of talking in the beginning. So I'm going to put a button to skip forward, or else it'll be in the description if I can't figure out how to do that. So this is going to be the next part here. If you are enjoying what's going on here, again, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying, figuring it out as I go along. But if you'd give me a like or a subscribe, or go to the link at the bottom there, and if you want to purchase my book and maybe even leave a comment, that would be great too. If not, that's fine too. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy The Smiling Ones on Space Station Mir, Part 3. This is Chapter 4. Cosmonaut Ladovsky, this is Roscosmos Mission Control. How do you read? Over. Anxiety and exhaustion had turned Yakovlev's face an ashy gray color. As he held his headphones to his ears, I could tell that he was fighting to keep from shaking. That reminds me, I think I had my headphones on in the last episode. I'm not a professional YouTuber or anything. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to do that or not. And I don't know if you guys like these asides. If I should just be reading straight through, I don't know. Leave a comment and tell me what you think. Anyways, Cosmonaut Ladovsky, this is Roscosmos Mission Control. How do you read? Over. Anxiety and exhaustion had turned Yakovlev's face an ashy gray color as he held the headphones to his ears. I could tell he was fighting to keep from shaking. Koptev, Markov, and Ivanov and the other directors were huddled behind his chair. I read loud and clear, Roscosmos. Good to hear your voice again. Please, tell me you have a rocket on the way to come get me. I'm ready to feel soil under my feet again. His voice was calm and steady. He seemed in high spirits. We're still working on that, Ladovsky. It's quite a complicated process. It'll take some time to organize. In the meantime, there are a few questions I'd like to ask you. There was no response but dead static. Yakovlev looked to Koptev, who nodded for him to continue. Cosmonaut, I need you to tell me where you have been for the last 44 years. Ladovsky gave an exasperated sigh. Mission Control, I've already told you. I have no idea. The last thing I remember was escaping Earth's atmosphere on my rocket in 1957 and then waking up here today. There's nothing else. Okay, Cosmonaut, then how about you help us better understand your situation by checking on the visual communication system? There seems to be something blocking the camera. Can you find it on the console in front of you and remove the obstruction? Several moments of silence followed before the radio crackled back to life. No, I don't. I'm sorry, Mission Control. There's so many buttons and lights here that I don't understand. I don't see any camera. Markov gave a derisive snort. We all knew that the camera was in the direct center of the terminal, right where Ladovsky was sitting. Very clearly labeled and easy to find, even for someone from the 1950s. Yakovlev looked again to the director, who nodded for him to continue. Yakovlev took a deep breath and keyed the mic. Cosmonaut Ladovsky, who are the Smiling Ones? Instantly, the mission control was filled with a shrill, inhuman screech, impossibly loud and high-pitched. It felt like a hot drill burrowing into both of my temples. Underneath the shriek was a continuous stream of rapid mechanical clicks, like a damaged hard drive trying to boot up. I felt nauseous, like the morning after a drinking binge. Yakovlev ripped the headphones from his head, and the directors covered their ears. After 10 agonizing seconds, the line was silent. I still heard and felt the noise reverberating in my head, and I rubbed my ears with the palms of my hands. What the hell was that? Screamed Markov, hands cupped over his ears. The radio crackled and sputtered, and Ledovsky's voice returned, now high and panicking. Oh, what? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't hear anything. I have no idea. Just please, get me out of here. I don't like it. I just want to go home. Please. He pleaded, his voice quavering on the very verge of tears. Calm down, cosmonaut. I need you to identify the source of that noise, Yakovlev yelled like he was hard of hearing. And perhaps he temporarily was, so I guess it would be more like, calm down, Ledovsky! I need you to identify the source of that noise! Yakovlev yelled like he was hard of hearing. I just read that. I guess I'll spare you doing a Russian accent. It would be really bad and get really annoying. I guess maybe if you want to hear it. Calm down, cosmonaut. Oh, that's bad. Calm down, cosmonaut. I need you to identify the source of the noise. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'll just continue in my regular English. Unknown, replied Ledovsky. What noise? I didn't hear anything on my end. There's nothing. Just please, get me out of here. It's going to seep in a little bit every once in a while. I'm not trying to, I promise. And any Russian listeners out there, 1,000 apologies. I know this is horrible. Listen, Ledovsky, there's nothing to be afraid of. We're trying to help you. We received the Morse code you sent. You need to help us understand what your message meant so that we can help you. When Yakovlev let go of the transmitter, Ledovsky's voice came screaming over the speakers, now fraught with terror. No, I have no idea how they know. I didn't say anything. I didn't send any message. I swear it. I have no idea what the hell they're talking about. Please, you have to believe me. Now he was groaning. Oh, no more. Please, no more. The line went dead for several minutes. The directors looked around the room in silence, avoiding eye contact. Finally, Yakovlev said what we were all thinking. Is it just me, or did that sound a lot like he was talking to someone else? Someone there with him on the space station? Before anyone could answer, the radio clicked on and he was back. Mission Control, Ledovsky here. I wish I could help you, but I have no idea what you're talking about. Perhaps once I have my feet back on the ground and some food in me, I'll remember more. What's the word on that rescue mission? Yakovlev picked up the transmitter to respond, but Koptev grabbed his wrist and stopped him. The static was interrupted by a series of long and short clicks. I grabbed for my pen and began to write down the Morse code message. By the way, that wasn't the real Morse code. If you buy the book, it's written in there, and that actually is real. But that wasn't. I apologize. I can't do Morse code. I don't know. Anyways, and also when I posted this on Reddit originally, someone asked why the Morse code was in English, not in Russian. The in-universe explanation is the person who wrote this moved to America, and he's translating this into English for you. Anyways. I grabbed my pen and began to write down the Morse code message. D-O space N-O-T space L-E-T. Do not let. But that was as far as I got. The message was cut off by the screeching of that same shrill, piercing tone. Louder this time. The mechanical clicking was there again, too, now accompanied by a deep, wobbling bass note. Wow, 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 wow. The frequency of the wobble increased. Wow, 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 wow. Faster and faster, like the spinning of a giant coin. The volume rising, the screech piercing through my brain like hot iron, and I could feel the bass in the pit of my stomach as it contracted into a super dense pebble like I'd just been kicked in the testicles. That hurts. My teeth hurt, and I could taste the bile rising in my throat. I looked around the room. And I found I was far from the only one experiencing this. Everyone was covering their ears. Some had grabbed wastebaskets to vomit into. Others leaned back in their chairs, eyes rolled back in their skulls. I was vaguely aware of one other noise. Somewhere, in the blackness of space, Ledovsky was screaming. Chapter 5. I awoke with a thin coppery taste in my mouth and a throbbing headache right above each eye. The signal must have cut off at some point, though. I have no memory of this happening. For the briefest moment of bliss, I thought I was home in bed, safe and comfortable. My greatest worry, the inevitable cry of the alarm clock. Then I rolled over and I couldn't find my pillow, and when I tried to look for it, I woke and found myself face down on my desk. I hadn't slept in so very long. I wanted so badly to close my eyes and drift away, to pretend this wasn't happening, but it was, and self-deception would get me nowhere. There was a job to be done, and by God, I was going to do it. What a fool I was. I should have stayed asleep. Shook the cobwebs from my mind and rose from my desk, trying to ignore the piercing ringing in my ears. Looking around, I could see the other Roscosmos operators and engineers coming to their senses in similar predicaments. Some wiping vomit from the backs of their mouths with the back of their hands. Others massaging their necks or temples. Is everyone okay? Is there anyone injured? Came the loud voice of Director Koptov, clear but strained like an out-of-tune instrument. Scattered confirmations echoed throughout the room. I was about to attest to my own well-being when I happened to glance over at Yakovlev and stopped short. His forehead rests on the keyboard in front of him, and the headphones he'd been wearing to communicate with Ledovsky were still covering his ears. Could not immediately tell if he was breathing, but he definitely wasn't moving. I rushed to his side and peeled off the headphones. A thin stream of blood trickled from each of his ears, forming a small pool on the desk. Tenderly, I lifted his head, cradling it at my hands and calling his name. Yakovlev. His eyes were closed and blood dripped from his nostrils. After a few moments, his eyelashes fluttered and his eyes opened, but they were distant and opaque, as if he didn't see me at all. As if he were in a dream, staring off at some distant wonder. His face was blank, loose, motionless, except for his mouth, which was curled up in a large, toothy, and humorless grin. He didn't speak, nor seem to hear me at all. I screamed for a medic, but what I got were two intelligence agents in charcoal-colored cloaks, or suits. Charcoal-colored suits, not cloaks. They lifted Yakovlev from the chair by his elbows and led him from the room. He wafted between them, grinning and dreamlike as they led him in the direction of the medical facility. It was the last time I would ever see him. With Yakovlev out of the picture, the task of manning the radio fell to me. Markov tried to take the burden upon himself, but Koptov would have none of it. Sorry, Markov, he said. I admire your tenacity, but we each have our roles to play. As a department head, your role is supervising your team and providing advisement to the director. When Markov continued grumbling, Koptov turned to me. Will you serve your country and complete the assigned task with vigor and professionalism? He asked. Yes, I will. My automatic reply, the product of decades of government indoctrination. Even as I spoke these words, my brain was screaming, no, I won't. Let me go home. Let me be in peace. But it was far too late for that. He turned back to Markov. Would you deny him the chance to serve Russia and fulfill his duty? No, I suppose I cannot, rasped Markov, speaking to Koptov, but locking his eyes with mine. He turned to follow Koptov. I swallowed hard and placed the headphones over my ears. But Markov turned back and snatched them off my head. No more headphones, he said to Koptov. He can hear what the rest of us hear on the overhead speakers well enough, but I won't lose another man in my department to whatever is up there. Koptov nodded his approval and added, cut the auto feed as well. I don't want to hear that noise or anything else from that cursed space station until we're good and ready for it. Ledovsky will just have to stay on ice for a while until we clear things up. Could have kissed the bastard for that. Hearing this go down over speakers from hundreds of miles away was bad enough. I was not ready to face this thing in person anytime soon. Which I guess doesn't make sense. Not in person. He didn't want to face it. I guess in person. Yeah, in person over the headphones. I don't know. Maybe I should do some editing on that. Maybe I will if I remember. Anyways. The pair of directors turned and walked off, continuing their rounds, checking for injuries among the operators. Once they had confirmed that there were no other major casualties, Koptev appeared at the podium up front once more. The room fell silent, and he began the greatest motivational speech I would ever bear witness to. This is supposed to be like the Rudy moment. I kind of picture him like up on a chair or something. Anyways, I'll do my best to emulate. It goes without saying that we are experiencing something completely unique in our species' history. It is my personal opinion that we are in communication with some kind of undiscovered life form. If this is true, it would forever change our understanding of the universe and alter the future path of humanity. Whatever these smiling ones may or may not be, I think we can all agree that this is beyond the scope of humanity. And if this is truly first contact with an alien species, it has been less benevolent than we might have hoped. Regardless, our job as scientists remains the same. Not to have opinions and beliefs, but to provide proof. And I have asked so much of you already, but now I must ask for more. We need to figure out what we are dealing with here. We need more information. We need proof. The fate of the human race may depend on it. The room was silent. The atmosphere gravited with the seriousness of the task at hand. I want the communications team to focus on analyzing that sound, but do not listen to the recordings directly. We've all seen what that can cause. The rest of you, keep searching for any clues that might tell us who the smiling ones are, where they came from, or what they might want. It's about time we finally catch a break. I put this in your capable hands. He smiled warmly. I'm counting on you. You are the best and the brightest men and women Mother Russia has ever produced, and I'm proud of every one of you. There's no other team in the world I'd rather be working with than the one I see before me here today. I hoped he was right. I sure didn't feel it. What I felt was fear. That's the third part there. As I'm going through this, I'm kind of realizing I'm catching a few editing mistakes, which I actually feel really bad about. I should have caught those. I went through this several times, but you get tired reading the same thing over and over again. I'm sure any of you authors out there know. So if you already bought a copy of the book, I apologize. Once this is done, I'll try to go back and re-edit this and put it in there correctly. They're pretty minor, but there are a few mistakes. But hey, if you want to tell me how you think I'm doing or give me any advice or ask any questions, let me know what you think of this author reading so far. Please feel free to give me a comment. I would greatly appreciate that. And I do appreciate you taking the time to listen. I hope everyone's staying safe and happy out there and taking care of yourselves and your family. I will see you next time for part 4. Thanks again. That was a lame closing. I got to come up with a better closing than that. Let me try something else. Thank you for listening. This has been part 4 of The Smiling Ones on Space Station Near. I'm Darius Pilgrim. See you next time, cosmonauts. That was a little better.